What's going on, y'all? Welcome to episode 15 of the Fight Night Forecast, where we highlight, recap, and cover all things boxing. What a week it was. What a week it was for the sport of boxing. Man, we got a new pound for pound number one, a new pound for pound king, Bud Crawford. Man. This podcast, and I think most of the world, did not see that come in, especially not in the way that it happened. We obviously thought it was going to be way more of a 50-50 fight, but Terence Bud Crawford is a legendary, generational type of talent. But yeah, I know what y'all are already thinking. Man, in the past couple podcasts, you were saying that Naoya Inoue was pound for pound number one. And he was for 3 days. He was pound for pound number one for 3, maybe 4 days. And I told y'all in that same episode that the only way I'm changing Naoya Inoue out of being pound for pound number one was if Errol Spence or Bud Crawford came in and just wiped their nose with the other one. And Terence Bud Crawford did just that. He did just that. But honestly, man, I'm hurt. Y'all know I'm a big Spence fan, man. So I was going to be happy regardless of the outcome just because we got that fight. We've been asking for that fight for years and we got that fight. So I'm not mad. I'm not mad that Bud Crawford won, but I can't lie, watching Spence lose like that was like watching your older brother getting beat up and being like, why y'all gotta do that to my big brother, bro? But seriously, man, I'm happy the fight happened, and the fans won. The fans won that night, for sure. Do I think it was fight of the decade? Probably not. Do I think that it was good for boxing? Yes. Do I think there's a rematch coming? Most likely. Do I think it's warranted? We'll talk about that later in the podcast. But first, man, let's get into it. Let's talk about what happened. Let's talk about what Crawford did right. Let's talk about what Spence did right and what he did wrong. Honestly, I think it starts with the weigh-ins for me. I think that Crawford came in a lot bigger than I thought he was going to. I'm not talking about weight numbers. I'm talking about Crawford came in looking yoked, right? And not that Spence didn't, but I think Crawford came in looking way bigger than anybody expected he was going to. And I think that's a testament to how long this fight took to make. I think it just gave Terence Crawford more time to fill into that 147 role that he had to come play, right? I think that gave him more time to, work with that strength and conditioning coach. You know what I mean? He really pulled like a Shakur Stevenson, right? Where maybe, I don't know, at this point, it might be a Shakur Stevenson pulled a Terence Crawford, you know what I mean? But chicken came before the egg. But, you know what I mean? It's the same concept. Him and Shakur did pretty much the same thing. They came into their new, a bigger weight division and just looked better and dominated, right? So Terence Crawford has now knocked out every opponent that he's fought at welterweight, which is crazy. A talent, a generational talent, a legendary talent, GOAT status. I don't know if he's GOAT status, but he's up there for sure. He's in the talks. But let's get into it, man. So like I said, the weight, the coming in bigger than expected was a huge role. I think in conjunction with that, the power that he brought in from being that peak physical condition, the power that he brought was a huge factor. Never I'm gonna keep it. Oh, listen, I'm gonna keep it a stack with y'all. I'm gonna keep it a band. I did not think he was gonna be more powerful than Errol the Truth Spence, Errol the Broker Spence, Errol, let me snatch your eye out your socket Spence. He came in more powerful than Errol Spence, hands down. And that could be a testament to the fact that Spence has outgrown the 147-pound division. Very well could be. Also, Terence Crawford brought that footwork, man. He was out there with them sweet feet. He was quick. He was moving. He had the hand speed. He had it all. He literally came on. He turned on, bro. But for real, man, Crawford's jab was too quick, and Crawford's jab was too powerful. I think that's a testament to him being a natural right-hander, right? And that jab that he had in that southpaw stance, which he never switched to orthodox. He never switched to orthodox, which he didn't need to, right? But, and I'll go into why I think that in just 1 minute. But his jab all night was just a power jab. That matter of fact, that knockdown in the second round was from a jab. Spence has never been knocked out in his career. He's been stumbled, never been knocked down. And he got knocked down with a jab. That's crazy, man. It's crazy. So, the reason I think that Spence never left the southpaw stance is because, Crawford never left the southpaw stance was because Spence has only fought 2 southpaws in his entire career. And they were early in his career. So, I think it was something like I think the last time he fought a southpaw, I think they said on the broadcast was like 15 fights ago or something like that. 12 fights ago, something like that. It was something. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. So he's only fought 2 total in his 28 fights that he's had. 29 fights that he's had. He's only fought 2 total, besides Crawford. So I think that definitely played a role. I mean, we can't act like it didn't, So, yeah. And then he comes in, and then Crawford comes in with his footwork and just moving around him. I think Spence did the right thing in a lot of ways when it came to working that body early, right? And bringing on that pressure. I think the problem is Spence, he left that game plan behind pretty early and was trying to fight Crawford at his own game and boxing that outside, and he just couldn't keep up. Crawford was just throwing that jab out there. He was landing it at will. And unfortunately, which I think the real reason Spence lost the fight is because he didn't make any adjustments. From the beginning of the fight on, that jab was landing, and Spence made no adjustments on defense with it. It was just all night. At will, Crawford landed that jab. Which, easy for us to say, oh man, just go make an adjustment, right? That's tough, man, against someone like Bud and being at that high level of boxing, right? It's tough to make those adjustments, man, but that's one of the biggest things I took away from the fight. Spence made no adjustments when it came to moving his head, his defense, smothering, trying to get on the inside, because every time he tried to move in, Crawford met him as he was coming in. Every single time. And he used his footwork and his angles, just like I said in the last podcast that he had to. He did. He had Spence lost over half the fight. Didn't know where he was at, where he was going. And I think really that knockdown in the second round being so early really affected the tone of the rest of the fight. Because you could kind of tell after that knockdown in the second round that Spence weighed more on the side of caution. He was a little more worried about moving in and trying to work that body after that. You could tell he was overreacting to almost every single punch that Bud threw. And Bud was just throwing feints, watching him react, figuring out what he was doing, and taking advantage of it. That's literally what happened. It's literally what happened. And there's just no adjustment was made on defense. Really, at the end of the day. But what's wild, bro, is I don't think I even saw Bud Crawford leave first gear. Imagine if he left first gear. He never lost his composure the entire bout. The entire bout. I don't think there was at any point that he got hit or got caught off guard and was like, oh man, bam, boom, lost my composure. You know what I mean? And that's scary. That's scary. That's just scary. I don't think Bud left first gear. Maybe as he was finishing Spence in the ninth, he might have went to second gear. Maybe. Turned it up and was like, all right, it's time to get him out of here. You know, and Bud left the ring virtually untouched. And that's the problem. Is Spence was throwing heavy shots in there, right? He was, especially, you know, after that knockdown, he got in there, he started throwing a few heavy shots, you know, a little bit in the third and fourth round, definitely the first round, because, I mean, that's the one round I even gave Spence in the first place, and that might have been even debatable because both guys are slow starters, but, you know, he never was fazed by any of the power punches he threw. You know, he wasn't fazed by any of the body work, bro. He was moving through them body shots, which no one thought was going to happen. Everyone was like, oh, man, Spence is about to tear him up to the body. Didn't happen, bro. Didn't even seem like he was really even phased. Took him right off and just countered over the top every single time. And the problem is with those body shots, too, I feel like Spence really ended up overreaching 9 times out of 10 to try to land one of those jabs to the body or a 2 to the body or a, you know, lead hook to the body. He was overreaching and putting himself out of position. Crawford was just taking that small step back while still being in position, countering right over the top. Or throwing those uppers in there. And then I really thought Spence was going to, when he got in on the inside, he was going to get that work in on the inside. And Crawford just managed to shut him down every single time. Whether that was through a clinch or through an angle you took off of him. I mean, it was a masterclass. And that's what's scary is Spence is a stud. Spence is likely to be a future Hall of Famer. And he made him look like that. And do I think Spence fell short to his true potential the other night? Yes, he did. I don't think that was the true potential of Spence that we saw. Right? Now, I'm not making any excuses for Spence, and I know for sure Spence ain't making no excuses for himself. But, he was a classy champion in defeat. You know, he said, hey, better man won tonight. My timing was off, which I do believe he's right with that. I think something was off. His timing was off. His defense was off. He was just getting caught too much, and that's not what Errol Spence... If you watch any other Errol Spence fight, man, go back to the Sean Porter fight. He got caught a little bit there, but Kell Brook, Ugas, I mean, Danny Swift Garcia, he put down some champions, bro. Some big names, bro. He's no joke. He's a stud. And Terence Crawford made him look like that. That's why I'm saying Terence Crawford is a legendary talent, a future first ballot Hall of Famer. No doubt. But it's beautiful to see it when there's levels of this game. You know what I mean? It's really beautiful to see. And that was, I don't care what y'all say, that was the highest level boxing we've seen in a while. And we may see for a little bit. So, yeah. Enough about that. Let me know in the comments, man, if there's anything y'all saw that maybe I didn't cover. Maybe there was something y'all saw that I didn't. But those are the big notes that I took away. Was just there was a lot stacked up against Spence, I think, without him even really realizing it, And Spence came in looking good. I had high hopes for the first few rounds. Even after that first knockdown, I was like, that was just a flash knockdown. And even Bud said, he's like, I didn't think much of that. That was a flash knockdown. And I was like, Spence is good. He's got a chin. He's going to recover. And really, after that, I just don't think Spence ever truly recovered. But at the end of the day, he went out like a champion. He went out on a shield. It was a TKO. He didn't actually get knocked out. He was still going. He was arguing with the ref. He's like, man, what? This is the biggest night of my life. You can't end this. But the ref made the right call, especially in the 9th round. He was just getting battered, man. He was getting battered. I think, he said in the post-fight interview, he was saying, he's like, my eye wasn't a problem. I could see through it. But I think, his right eye, I don't think he could see out of it very well. And the doctor tried to come ruin the night. That was the 3rd round, I'm pretty sure. 3rd round, maybe 4th round. The doctor tried to come ruin the night. They said, Doc, get out the ring. We don't need you here. But yeah, he was, talking about that eye, but they ended up letting Spence continue, obviously. But yeah, let's move on, man. What do I think is next for both fighters? I think Terence Bud Crawford has a lot of options. I think Terence Bud Crawford's options are in this order. I think he can rematch Errol Spence at 147 for all the belts. I think he can rematch Errol Spence at 154. I think he could take on a mid-level 154 guy like a Tim Tszyu. Or I really think he can go take on Jermell Charlo after this Canelo fight. I think he beats Jermell at 154. I think he beats him easily, actually, because I think Errol Spence is, as much as I have love for the Charlos, I think Spence is a better fighter than the Charlos, just fundamentally more sound than the Charlos. But, man, it's hard to say after what we just watched the other night that anybody in the 154 division could beat Crawford. Really, it's true. People are talking about him fighting Canelo too, bro, and I don't know about all that. That seems like a lot. Maybe if Canelo met him at 160 or something like that, it'd be different. But that's like, I don't know, bro. That's like me being like, oh yeah, I want to see Canelo move up to heavyweight and fight Usyk. Come on, man. Like, that's just, you know what I mean? He looked good at 147. He looked good at 54. But then some of the stuff just gets a little unrealistic where we're like, man, let him fight. Let's have him fight Canelo. Because it doesn't matter how good you are. If you get in there with someone who's just bigger than you, that's a whole different ballgame, right? And I'm not saying that size is the only differential in boxing, but it makes the difference, bro. There's a reason they have weight classes, right? So I know, Mel's moving up 2 weight classes to fight Canelo, but Mel's a big 154 guy, bro. He's a big 154 guy. He could be fighting at 160 like his brother, and he could probably finish his career at 168 and be all right. I think, people forget Bud came up from 130. I think he might have even fought at 126 at one point. That's a lot of weight classes to move up in, right? You didn't see Mayweather fighting at 160, at 168. So I don't know. I think we witnessed at 147 possibly the best weight class for Terence Crawford. We'll see what he does at 154, but I think we just witnessed him at his peak physical prime at 147. I think he just looked phenomenal. He looked filled out. He looked fast. He looked, Powerful. He was the whole package the other night, for sure. Now, what do I think is next for Spence? I do not agree with Stephen A. Smith. I watched First Take. I think he's with First Take. Watched that today, and he said Errol Spence should consider retirement. I do not agree with that. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Spence fan. Spence is 32 years old. I know he's been through a lot, right? Car crash, torn retina, a few other injuries in the past. I don't think Spence is done with the sport of boxing. I don't think the sport of boxing is done with Spence. I think what's next for him is a rematch with Terence Crawford. I think after what we witnessed last night, I'm not sure a rematch of 147 is warranted. But do I think that the landscape could be a little different if he fights at 154? Rematches at 154? Yes, most definitely. Because that's less weight for Spence to cut. And Spence has always been a big 147. You know, and he mentioned in the post-fight interview, he said, man, it's you know, they asked, was there any specific difficulties with the weight cut? And he said, you know, they've all been difficult over the years. You know, so he said they're never easy. But he said, I'm not making any excuses. He said, I agreed to this weight, and that's what it was, right? But we found one of the, you know, out of Terence Crawford, we found the best welterweight in that division, you know. And I forgot one of the options for Terence Crawford, Boots Ennis. Now, I love me some Boots Ennis. Boots Ennis is one of my top 5 favorite fighters. But do I think Boots Ennis is ready for Terence Crawford? No. I'm not even sure Boots is ready for Errol Spence. You know? I don't think he is. I love Boots, man, and he's great. And he's gonna be a champion at 147. For sure. No doubt. But I think he needs to fight somebody on a step up, like a Keith Thurman or I'm trying to think. I mean, I would like to say like a Danny Garcia or something, but you know, I think he's fighting at 154 right now. He's kind of doing a 154 campaign. Maybe an I- Stanionis at 150 or a 147 for Boots Ennis. You know, I'd like to say Virgil Ortiz, but I'm not sure we're ever going to see him in the ring again since he, you know, has the heart issue. You know, I'd like to see him fight one of those guys before he just hops in and takes Errol Spence and Bud Crawford. Plus, I don't think either of those guys want to stay at 147 anymore. I think they're going up. So, I think the main focus for Spence should be, I'm going back to the drawing board. I'm going to look at what I did wrong, reassess with my trainer of the year last year, Derek James, come back and try it at 154 and see if if there's any different outcome at 154. I think that's got to be our best option for Spence at this point. So, man, I know it was a little more one-sided than we thought, but it was still, in my mind, the best week of boxing between that and Inoue Fulton that we've seen in years. You know? And definitely the most anticipated. But, yeah, I'm going to hit y'all with a question of the week. Give y'all a chance to speak. Tell me your thoughts. Do you want to see a rematch? Would you pay for a rematch with Spence and Crawford? And bonus question of the week, do you want to see it at 147 again for all the belts, or do you want to see it at 154? Let me know in the comments below. Question of the week. I'll say it one more time. So do you want to see a rematch? Would you pay for a rematch? Do you want to see it at 147 or do you want to see it at 54? Let me know in the comments. But Personally, yeah, I want to see a rematch. You guys know my opinion on it. I want to see a rematch. I want to see Spence redeem himself a little bit. I'm afraid that if Spence does not go back and take this rematch, it's going to eat him alive. You know, Spence is a competitor. Spence is at that top level of the sport. You know, and the loss that he suffered the other day, unfortunately, is one of those losses that, you know, everyone's going to remember that over all this good stuff he did. Because, unfortunately, in the sport of boxing and most combat sports, you're only as good as your last bout, right? The fans, usually it's fueled by the casual fans. The fans tend to forget all the great things you did in your division or whatever. As soon as you take a loss like that, they're like, that's what he is. He's trash. He's wash. You know, unfortunately, that's the sport that we know and love. You know, so overall though, it was a masterclass by Terence Bud Crawford. Spence went in there like a warrior, man, and went out like a warrior. Can't knock the man. I'm not knocking the man. I'm still rocking with him in defeat, like I said earlier. But we got to see what the plan is if they're going to activate that rematch clause. So I think it's going to happen, but you never know with the sport of boxing. So looking forward to this next weekend. Man, we got Jake Paul and Nate Diaz coming up. Man, let me know if y'all want me to do another one of the Tipping the Scales Volume 2 with Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. Had a lot of people hit me up, man. That first little volume there, Tipping the Scales, seemed like a lot of people liked that, man. So if you guys want to see that kind of content, you know what I mean, let me know. I'll see what I can do. See if we can maybe keep that coming if that's the kind of stuff you guys like. But yeah, so this fight coming up this weekend is what it is. It's in Dallas, Texas. We got Jake Paul coming off his loss from Tommy Fury. We're going to see how he bounces back with that. Hey, props to Jake Paul, man, for even getting back in the ring, right? He could have very easily just taken that loss and been like, oh, man, I got enough money. I'm good. I'm done. But, he truly loves the sport, I believe, and he's putting work into it. And he's putting, time, heart, and effort into it, bro. So as much as y'all want to hate on Jake Paul, man, he's out here doing the dang thing, man. He's out here doing it. We'll see what Nate Diaz brings to the table. I think he, he's always been more of a striker in the UFC. So I don't think it's not like a Ben Askren, All-American wrestler, coming in there being like, I'm gonna try my hand at boxing. I'm gonna try my hand at boxing. Nate's got a chin. He is a little older, but he's got a chin, and he's taken big shots before. He knows how to give a big shot back. So I think we're in for an interesting fight. It's not your typical you dig, but I think we're in for a little bit of an entertaining weekend for sure. Anthony Joshua's coming up. Even in the post-fight press conference there, Derek James said he's hopping on a plane to London, so he's getting over there, getting ready for that Dillian White rematch. That's coming up, I believe, on the 12th. Now, I just saw that on the 19th, I believe, is when it was. Callum Smith and Artur Beterbiev has been canceled, or not canceled, been postponed rather. It says that Beterbiev had a dental injury, assuming he probably chipped a tooth or knocked one out, something along those lines, to where he's not comfortable with continuing on with his bout. So it's been postponed. They haven't put a date out yet, but as soon as I find that out, I'll let y'all know for sure. But yeah, man, thank y'all so much for tuning in. 15 weeks, man, and the 15th week has been the best one to cover so far. Man, I'm loving it. But listen, man, I'm gonna get out of here. I wanted to dedicate most of this episode to Spence and Crawford, just digging deep into it. Man, let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. If there's anything you feel like I missed, let me know. If there's anything you agree with me, let me know. You know what I mean? If you want to show me a little bit of hate, a little bit of, hey, man, nah, bro, this is what I think happened. Go ahead, just hit me up, man. I'll run you all that smoke in the comments, man. Just let me know. Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thank you so much. Please like, comment, subscribe, post notifications. Tell a friend. Have your friend tell your friend. Tell your aunt. Have your auntie tell your cousin. You know what I mean? Just tell a friend, man. Let them know what you like going on here. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Appreciate all the love. Other than that, maybe I'll see you guys this Friday for a little Tipping the Scales Volume 2. If not, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.